Hello, welcome to Sarah Yoga. I am Sarah, and today we have a practice for when you're not feeling well. So if you are in the midst of having a cold or the flu, or maybe you're just coming off of being sick. I myself just had the flu, so I totally feel your pain. So we're gonna do a really gentle practice that will not take your body away from that healing process, but just enough small movement to kind of stir things up and get things moving again to signal to your body that you are ready to come out of this and see that light at the end of the tunnel. So grab a block if you've got one, or a pillow will do. If you have a chair close by, we'll use that as well. Grab your mat and let's just go ahead and jump right into this very soothing, healing, comforting practice. So we're going to jump right in and take a moment just to sit. So you might need a box of Kleenex close by if you're dealing with congestion in the lungs, or through the nasal cavities. You might be clearing some stuff out, so have some Kleenex handy. And really just using this practice to give your body the tools to heal. Take a moment and just ground yourself out here in a seat. Take a couple rounds of breath. You can close your eyes. Maybe you're feeling a little lethargic or sleepy anyway, so just let the eyes close. And scan the body for any negativity that you might be holding even against your own body here. I wish I didn't feel this way, or make this go away. And again, just knowing that your body is really fighting hard to exist in the current state that you're in, even if it's not optimal, or what you would consider optimal. Just allowing yourself to exist where you are. And just take one more moment here and let your breath drop all the way down into the belly, to the low back. So we're going to take ourselves right away and sort of flip that equilibrium a little bit and start to move some of this congestion. So if you have a block, you can use that block. If you don't have a block, pillow, or even a stack of a couple books works. We're just going to take ourselves into a child's pose. Knees wide, big toes together, but we're going to use the block as a little bit of support. So you can bring that block, pillow, whatever you have right in front of you. And a couple of options: you can let the elbows come on to the block and just let your head drop down. Or you can actually move the block a little bit further away and cross those arms and let your forehead come down to touch. And so again, nothing super fancy, super strenuous. We're not trying to, work the hardest in our yoga practice that we ever have. It's just a matter of shifting things around and seeing if we could come back to the breath and come back to that practice of yoga, even when it might be so much easier to kind of focus on what doesn't feel good, or all the things you like to do once you feel better. And giving yourself some nice easy rounds of breath here. You might notice it into the low back. And so already, if you do have congestion, you might feel some of this congestion moving upward into the top of the lungs, or up into the space of the head and the nasal cavities, the nose, the throat. And so just doing your best here to kind of let shift whatever needs to shift. And then when you're ready, we'll start to make our way up. And we'll take ourselves into counterpose. So after we've kind of folded over, we're now going to open up. And you can just lean back on your heels. Take your fingertips behind you. Roll open through the chest. So if this is too much for the legs, the knees, etc., you can always take it up so you're not leaning, and just bring your knees in slightly underneath your hips. So whether you're leaning back on your heels or up here, we're going to release the hands and just start to reach all the way up towards the sky. And so as you reach up, flip the palms up towards the sky. And feel the front of the chest opening up. You can even tilt your chin up a little bit. Really peeling open, feeling all of this start to settle down the front of the throat. And then exhale, come and release. So we're going to come right into another forward fold, taking it up a little bit. So we're going to move into our downward dog, but we're going to continue to use the block. So you can take that block on any level, the lowest, the medium, or the highest, and we'll find a spot where we can rest the hairline onto the weight of the block. So you'll walk your hands forward a little bit. Start to come up into your downward dog. And then find that point of contact with the hairline. So maybe the first downward dog you've done in a couple days or a week. So you might just kind of pedal the legs a little bit here for a moment. And then, you know, this might be pretty strenuous for a body that is fighting off something. So just allow yourself to be here. You might push into the hands, might feel some heat, some shifting going on. Do your best to let go of the head, the neck. And then we'll eventually start to bring ourselves back down. We're going to come right back down into that child's pose. You might use that block again. Any version, just let the head drop down. And then we'll start to come up here, and once more we're gonna peel back open, so you can stay leaning on your heels, or you can lift all the way up towards your knees, open up. And then go ahead and release the hands, flip those palms up towards the sky, peel open. And exhale, release. So already maybe feeling some things moving around. We're gonna come right up into our all fours and just give yourself a little bit of movement. So you might roll out through the hips. When we're sick or dealing with something where we're not able to maybe have our normal exercise regime or even carry out our everyday tasks, the body can get really stiff from resting, which is fine. Crack, crack, pop, pop. You need to give your body that time to rest. But also, if you can, just giving yourself the tiniest little bit of movement. You can roll out through the head, the neck. And to kind of start moving that blood flow back around to signal to the body that you are ready to recover, that you're looking to nurture, to heal. And then eventually we're going to come right up into yet again another forward fold. So we're going to walk those feet up, land standing here, and then just let the head and drop down. You might be feeling a lot in the back of the legs if you haven't stretched in a while. And so just feeling into that. See if you can really let the head drop down. And then put a soft bend in the knees, and we'll roll it nice and slow all the way up. Let your head be the last thing to rise. So we're coming up to a stand. And so when you get up here, give yourself a moment, let all of that settle back down. You might bring one hand over the heart, one hand over the belly. Couple deep inhales, couple deep exhales. And just for a moment here, we'll go ahead, release the hands. Take a nice big wide stretch. Take your arms back a little, peel the chest open, maybe tilt your chin up. Exhale, release. Let those arms flutter down, and then on your inhale, we'll just sweep up for one breath and big stretch, maybe look up. And then on your exhale, we're gonna let the arms float down. We'll start to take our feet as wide as the mat, coming now into a wide-legged forward fold. You can turn your toes in a little, find that fold right up and over the hips. Take your time. Up and over. Let your head drop down. And so you might take those palms and eventually start to walk them forward a little, kind of like you are in a downward dog, just widening out, pushing into the hands, really letting the head drop. It's okay to put a little bend in the knees and tilt the tailbone up, but really, again, just looking for this shifting. Take one more inhale here. And then nice and slow, you're gonna roll all the way up. Head is the last thing to rise. So now we're gonna grab that chair, or if you have a coffee table, anything, you know, that you can bring your head on. We'll do one more forward fold here. Feet are hip width distance apart. We'll use this chair for support. So we're gonna come up and over, just like we did on the block. You might cross those forearms and just let the hairline come to rest down so you have some support. And really just releasing the weight of the head, releasing the shoulders, releasing the jaw. And then take your time. We'll come up nice and slow. Let all of that settle back down. Take that chair, move it out of the way. So now we're gonna come into a couple of options. You can come right back down into that child's pose where you're flipping your head up and over again. Or if you would like to create just a little bit more of a drastic stirring up of the blood flow of the body, you might use a wall if you have a handstand practice, and just for a couple rounds of breath, right, bringing yourself up and over to the wall here, and just taking a moment to kind of flip yourself upside down. So again, we're not trying to make this super difficult. You can keep your feet on the wall, just enough to kind of stir up the body and shift things around. Again, if you're coming off a cold, this is going to feel pretty difficult, even if you can normally do it easily. And so that's about enough. Take your time, we'll come down, and we're just going to come right and meet in that child's pose, or maybe you were in your child's pose the whole time. And it doesn't really matter. Regardless what you do, you're getting that flipping over benefit and shifting. And so we'll come up and we're gonna, if you did that handstand, we're gonna do it one more time, just for a few rounds of breath. If you're in your child's pose, just stay where you are. And again, nothing super crazy, super difficult. Just enough to kind of flip the whole equilibrium of the body, sending fresh blood flow down to the brain. And then whenever you're ready, you start to come out, and again we'll head into that child's pose. And then take your time here. We'll all come up from our child's pose and start to make our way, shift our way onto our back. Again, if you have that block, we're gonna grab the block. If you don't have a block, a pillow, like a more dense pillow or a couple pillows stacked on top of each other. Moving through a couple rounds of 2 different back bends. So we're gonna first open up the upper spine, the thoracic spine, and the heart center, and then we'll move down into the lower spine. So we're gonna place the block right in between the shoulder blades here. finding that sweet spot, and then can help your head just come up and over. So if this is too much for the neck, you can always grab another pillow and bring it underneath your head so your head is more elevated. If you can do it just with the head dropping down to the ground, it's a really good opening for the front of the throat, the jaw. And we'll just kind of keep the knees bent for this one and let them drop in towards one another. You can let those arms flap open, giving yourself a few rounds here into the front of the chest. And when you're ready, we're going to come out of this first back bend by simply rolling off to either side and grab that block, whatever you're using, pillow, and we'll take it right back down onto our back. And now we'll bring the block either on the medium or the lowest setting right underneath your tailbone. So now finding a back bend for this lower spine supported to relieve some pressure from lying or sitting for long periods of time on that lower lumbar spine. And this is also the smallest little inversion, right? Sending some blood flow down through the knees, makes some of that movement a little bit easier back to the heart, back to the brain. It's a nice stretch across the back of the neck. It's kind of a little mini thyroid lock across the front of the throat. So lots of really good things happening. Simply coming back to your breath. And then eventually we'll slide the block out, come down. So if you have an extra minute or two, you might lengthen out the legs, lengthen out the arms, and come into a Shavasana. If you have that time, take it to give yourself that final rest. Right, if you've kind of had enough and you're ready to move back into your recovery, you can come and meet me in a seat here one last time to feel everything settle down. And so again, just remembering your body's working really hard to allow you to exist in the state that you are in, regardless if you feel like it's 10 or 100%. And really allowing yourself to support your body. And so come back to the breath. Remembering yoga doesn't have to be something fancy or even super hard. Whatever you need to best support your body, your mind. Bring the hands together here at the heart, closing out with one final deep breath in. Exhale, bowing the head to the heart. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I truly do hope you feel better soon. Namaste.